Being part of a writing community is important. It's important to have a writing support team. But what should you actually do once you've found your people? How does it look to be a member of a writing community? That's what we're going to be discussing in the video today. Hey, y'all, welcome to a new Live with Lisa. If you're new here, my name is Lisa, and I create videos that help you learn how to write and live God's way. If you're looking to honor God with both your life and your writing, this is the place for you. I also want you to know that every week we go live here in partnership with Our Given Purpose Ministries, which is an amazing ministry founded by my dear friend, Tori Slaughter, to help you grow in your walk with God and to get plugged in to godly community. So not only can you watch today's live stream on YouTube and on Instagram, but on the Our Given Purpose Facebook page as well. So make sure you get connected there and learn more about that amazing ministry. So when we talk about getting into writing communities, right, we know that this is important. And we've talked a lot over the past few live streams about what it looks like to be in a community and to have accountability as a writer and why it's important. And so make sure that you go back and watch those previous videos from over the last few weeks where I really delve into what makes accountability and support for writers so important, and the different types of support that you can get as a writer. But today we're going to go a little bit deeper and we're going to talk about what it looks like to give support as a writer and how to be a good member of a writing community. So most of what we'll talk about today will refer to specifically writing groups or critique partners. When you're in a writing group, you're working with other writers, and a critique group is the same way. And so a lot of what we're talking about today is going to really specifically go into what it looks like to be a good member of a writing group or a critique group with other writers in particular. So that's what we'll be kind of digging into today. I want to start with a verse that really speaks to me and should hopefully speak to a lot of you as kingdom writers, which is Proverbs 11:25. Proverbs 11:25 says, "A generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed." And I think that's such a powerful principle for us to take hold of. If we're looking to, be a member of a community of writers, and we're looking to find other writers who will help and encourage us, we need to become the kind of people who will help and encourage others. And so what does that look like? We'll be digging into that practically. So let's talk about 5 different ways that you can be a helpful and supportive member of a writing group. Okay, so let's dig into that. Number 1 is to show up consistently and engage. To show up consistently and engage as part of a writing group. So this means things like being reliable when you attend meetings, being on time, making sure you're prepared, making sure that you focus in your feedback and that you're giving feedback that is helpful, but is not dominating to other writers. I really believe that it is most helpful for you to point out things that you see that are good and that need improvement with other people's writing, but that you're not giving a whole bunch of solutions or trying to force your way of fixing the problem. If writers want to, if they have questions and they are asking you for suggestions, that's one thing, but don't try to force your particular way of doing things. It's still their book and their vision at the end of the day. And so you don't want to try and take over that and to try to, control how they're doing things. That's a common mistake that a lot of writers make, is they try to insert their way of doing things into the book and into the story. And so you want to really just think about giving them suggestions and ideas for things that you see that are working or are not working. And then if they're looking for solutions, then you would do more to offer your own ideas and opinions. But even then, you want to make sure you're doing it in a way that is, you're just presenting them as suggestions. They have to make their own decisions at the end of the day as far as what advice to accept or not accept. So you want to basically stay within your role as a writer in that situation. You're not an editor in the group, in the writing group. Even people who are professional editors that might also be writers, you kind of have to take off the editing hat a little bit when you're in a writers group, because again, it's not your job to fix things. It's not your job to force certain changes. You're making suggestions and pointing out certain things that you see. So, you want to avoid stepping into that editor role unless they specifically ask for those ideas and those suggestions. So that is the first point. Let's go into the comments here. Yes, make sure that you like, subscribe, and share. Absolutely. So that is the link for the channel. Make sure that you do that. All right. And then Tori says, Proverbs 11:25, such a powerful principle. It really is. It applies to so many things outside of writing, right? Just in general, just being a generous person in general is just a great thing for us to do. But it really applies to writing as well when we think about our writing process. We don't want to just try and take from other people, right? We want to make sure we're giving too, that we're being as helpful as we can be in any given environment in our writing. So it absolutely applies there as well. Yes. And Tori says the and is essential. Show up and engage. Absolutely. We want to show respect for other people's time, right? If everyone is taking time away from their families and other things that they need to do, we want to honor that. We want to honor the time that people are bringing to commit to this time. And so we want to be plugged in. We want to be engaged. We want to be interested in what other people are writing as well, not just thinking about our own work, and just making sure that it is a give and take relationship in all of those ways. And Tori says that the most polite way of saying stay in your lane. I'm certainly not saying that no one can offer editing tips or advice or anything like that in a writing group. But in some ways, yes, it is important that for writing in particular, that you're not trying to, again, dominate someone else's vision and trying to tell them what kind of book they're writing. We want to be careful there. Definitely give opinions and ideas and things like that, but you want to really avoid jumping in and trying to redo the whole book for them, right? So definitely, want to stay in that writer role and really, kind of be as supportive as possible, for sure. But I love that. That is funny, Tori. Okay. So the next point in terms of being a good member of a writing community is to give thoughtful, respectful feedback. Give thoughtful, respectful feedback. And so the important thing we want to think about here is to make sure you're balancing truth with love, right? And so really you want to be supportive and encouraging when you're giving that advice, you're giving that feedback. You want to point out the things that other writers are doing well, but you also want to balance that with being honest and really talking about things that they can improve on. I think one of the big mistakes that I tend to see with newer writers who haven't quite, gotten the experience yet with giving feedback is they tend to go to one extreme or the other based on their personality. They might tend to overdo it with the compliments and not give as much, things where they can improve, or they tend to overdo it with the criticism, right? And they might, not give as many compliments, and it can kind of feel like, it's being a little oppressive, right? And so we want to make sure we try to strike that balance, have that giving them that encouragement and the compliments and the things that are doing well, and then balancing that with room for improvement and with suggestions and constructive criticism. Tone really matters here. We want to be respectful of someone's work and their ideas, and also being, honest and being not just kind of sugarcoating everything. So it can take some time to develop that balance. But when you go to other writing groups and when you go in person and you're around other writers, you tend to learn from how other people give feedback, and you start to develop your own method of doing it, and you really kind of figure out what works for you. Sometimes it's a little bit of trial trial and error, but just keep at it and keep going and keep participating in those conversations. And you will find that not only do you grow in your ability to give and receive feedback, but you also grow as a writer just from learning and listening to those conversations and contributing. It's really amazing how much you will find that your own writing grows from the process of being in the room with other writers, hearing their perspectives, hearing how they think, and then learning how to give feedback from watching them. So that can be really helpful. The next thing we want to do in writing community is to protect trust and confidentiality. Protect trust and confidentiality. This is important. And so this is things like you want to remember in the writers group and in this writing setting that people are being vulnerable. They're sharing things that they're working on, many times things that they have worked on for years, and things that are probably very close to their hearts, and stories that may be very personal. And so we want to honor and respect that. And so that means never share the work of another writer publicly without asking for permission. Let me say that again. Never share the work of another writer publicly without asking for permission. And especially because these are works that they may not be, are probably not ready to publish yet, right? If they're bringing their work to these meetings and they're workshopping, with other writers, then they're at different stages in the drafting and editing and revising stages. And so the last thing you want is to find out that something you spent, a lot of time working on and you're still working through is, posted online under someone else's name or with someone else's, just without your consent. So we definitely don't want to do that. And we want to be respectful of what people are sharing with us in confidence. You want to just honor the vulnerability that it takes to put yourself out there, even in a small group, and make it really kind of a safe place for people to do that. Again, being respectful of their work makes that really important as well. So when you're able to do that, when you show that respect, when you show that honor for other people and recognizing the vulnerability that it takes for them to do that, that makes it more likely that you're going to build a strong community of writers. And it's just so important in terms of really setting the stage for people to be able to trust each other. And that really makes a difference, not only in terms of making sure that people are able to, it keeps people coming back, first of all, just on a practical level, right? But the other thing is you're able to give better feedback and receive better feedback when you start to develop those relationships and when that trust is established. It takes time, obviously, as you get to know each other, but you really want to make sure that you are doing what you can to contribute to that being a safe space for other writers, that they feel safe sharing their work with you and you feel safe sharing your work with them as a result. And that's that trust and that confidentiality really plays an important role in making sure that you're able to do that well. All right. Tori says, I love that you're walking us through being balanced to speak in love and encouragement while giving beneficial feedback. It is certainly a practice. Absolutely. Absolutely, Tori. And it is something that, again, this does not happen overnight. I have been in various writing groups and giving and receiving writing feedback really for over 20 years now, since high school, just starting in creative writing classes that I was taking and, kind of stumbling through it. And so I know kind of how it can be awkward, especially in the beginning when you're getting to know each other. So these are not things that you necessarily develop in immediately. It can take time, but just be patient with yourself as you work through that process and as you learn. It really is worth it in the end to stick to it as much as you can. And then Tori says, permission. Yes, yes. And this, it's just really important to make sure that you are doing that. I will say, I haven't seen personally as many problems in writing groups with people stealing each other's work or anything like that. I know that that happens, but it's not something that I have seen as much personally. I think the groups that I've been a part of have been really wonderful and just full of amazing people who have been really supportive. And I think that a lot of that is because many people are committed to this type of thing of really protecting that trust and confidentiality. And so, it's not something that you need to be like fearful of and anxious about or anything like that, but just make sure that you're doing your part, right? To protect that trust and confidentiality of other writers for sure. And then the next thing you want to do to be a great member of a writing community is to offer different kinds of support. Offer different kinds of support. This is really important and really necessary in your writing journey, just in general. This is things like promoting other people's projects, promoting their launches, or their events whenever it is appropriate, and whenever you can do that type of thing. These are a lot of these types of things are not things where you necessarily, it's things that we don't really think about, but things that can make the world of difference to other writers, right? If you're promoting their work, if you're promoting their projects and things that they have coming up, just even if you're just through word of mouth, you can share a post on social media. You can talk to people that that would be a good fit for their book. You can recommend resources that have been helpful to you in your writing journey. Exchanging ideas and different different apps and subscriptions that may have helped you or may have encouraged you. Being willing to serve in whatever way you can is so important. If in the case of especially depending on their comfort level, you can offer to pray for them if they're having a struggle, or they're dealing with some issues in their writing, if they're having writer's block, or they're just having trouble breaking through. You can offer to connect with them, just to have a cup of coffee and just vent and just listen to them if they're needing to vent and they're having a tough day or having a tough time with the process, right? Offer to help brainstorm if they're stuck. I have found this to be incredibly helpful in the writers groups I've been a part of. And it's been really helpful to be on the receiving side of that as well. You may not, have millions of dollars to buy, a whole bunch of books from them, but you can offer to help them when they're walking through that process of being, stressed and stuck, and to help them come up with ideas at different times in the writing process. And yes, of course, when their book comes out, you can, purchase a copy or 2 or 5 or however many your budget allows for, and support them financially as well. So there's a lot of different options for ways that you can support other writers and encourage them as a member of a writing community. And you want to just kind of look for ways to do that, look for opportunities to do that as much as you can. And that I really, as someone who has done that and seen that done, I know that it makes a world of difference to other people who have experienced that type of thing when they get that support and that encouragement. So you want to make sure you're doing that as much as you can. Yes, Tori says the relationships we build while writing and lifing is so helpful. Absolutely, Tori. Absolutely. And the relationships, that's really what this is about at the end of the day. It is building relationships, looking for ways to give and encourage as much as you can, to serve, to encourage, to uplift, and just to be a blessing. As kingdom writers, that is what we're called to do. And so, there are a lot of ways that we can do that. And that's really what this is about, is in building those strong relationships that will stand the test of time. All right. And then lastly, we have, as far as being really just a great member of a writing community, is to promote unity and not division. Promote unity and not division. This is so critical as well. And there's a lot of different ways that we can go about doing this. But one of them is to celebrate the writing success that other writers experience, to really be genuinely happy for them without jealousy or envy or trying to compete. I've said this in other live streams as before, but there is no room for competition in the kingdom of God. And so as kingdom writers, our job is to support and encourage and uplift and to help our fellow writers to be the best that they can be. And so when one or many of them succeed, when they're doing well, we are excited for them. We are happy for them. We are joyful, and we join in that celebrating with them. And if they're struggling and they're having a hard time and they're, going through a valley and they're dealing with a lot of disappointment, we are standing with them, and we are, experiencing that with them. We are walking with them through that difficulty. We're going with them through that season of trial and adversity. And this is something that we are called to do even as believers in Jesus, in the body of Christ, in the church as a whole, right? Romans 12:15 says that we are to rejoice with those who rejoice and to mourn with those who mourn. And so that is really important for us to do when we are looking to be supportive in a community of writers, and really looking to stay committed to that. We also want to stay focused on our own calling and our own voice and our own writing ability, right? And so again, staying away from jealousy and envy and competing with other writers. We have our own calling. We have our own things that God is calling us to do, and so we want to make sure that we are committed to that, and that we're not getting distracted, and we're not, again, kind of just looking at just kind of being just petty with other writers, right? We want to be supportive. And so one way that we can do that is by being focused on what our journey is, and recognizing that our journey is unique, right? God has called us to do unique things for him. And so when we are focused on that, and we're making sure that we are committed to obeying him and what he's called us to do, then that frees us up and gives us room to not only be confident in what we're creating for him, but to also come alongside other writers and to be supportive of them as well. And so, this is just kind of, some of this is kind of, just again, really good principles for life in general, right? Don't engage in gossip. Don't entertain drama within the group, right? You want to make sure you are looking for opportunities to support. And so that might mean redirecting conversations that are going in that direction of getting a little negative, and looking for ways to bring people back to being supportive and encouraging as much as possible. And just helping to do your part to create an environment, again, where other writers feel safe, where they feel encouraged, where they feel strengthened and uplifted and supported and genuinely supported. That as much as we can, we want to make sure that we are making an effort to do that intentionally in the writing communities that we are a part of. And so again, we want to make sure that that is a priority. All right. And Tori says, practice celebrating. Yes, absolutely. That is a big piece of this. Practice celebrating, being happy for other writers, really celebrating them and what they are doing, and just being a part of really bringing people together, and really looking to, again, establish that environment of safety, of support, of encouragement, and just really working hard to be the best writer that you can be, and to contribute as much as you can to the community that you are a part of. So I hope this video was helpful for you today. If it was, and you want to learn more about how to write and live God's way, I would love for you to subscribe and to share this video with someone that could use some encouragement, could use some support. And so make sure that you are doing that for sure. Make sure that you are encouraging other people in their writing journey. And that's one way to do that, right? Is to share this video with another writer who needs that support. It can be as simple as that, right? So again, I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that it blessed you and encouraged you. And I will see you in the next Live with Lisa. Feel free to leave a comment below letting me know what your writing journey is. And if you're a part of a writing community, if you're still looking for a writing community, let me know that as well. I would love to help you in any way that I can in your writing journey, and I would love to encourage you in any way that I can. So that is it for this week's live stream, and I will see you next week at this same time, and then this at this same time next week. So thank you so much for joining me, and until next time, take care and God bless. Bye, y'all.